All right, welcome to the Santa Maria Bonita School District Board Forum. My name is Jennifer Dolan. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, North Santa Barbara County. The National League was formed over 100 years ago as women were fighting for the right to vote and were finally granted. We are extremely proud of that heritage, but we're also progressive in our approach to nonpartisan voter education and our advocacy work. The League welcomes all genders and ethnicities as member, and we have tried to remove barriers to non-citizens to become League of Women Voter members, as well as students who are at least 16 years of age. In California now, students at 16 are able to pre-register to vote so that they're ready to vote right when they turn 18. The nonpartisan nature of the League is really critical to our mission, and it means that as an organization, we do not support any candidates or support any specific political parties. Before we start, I wanted to thank our partners, particularly the AAUW of Santa Maria, and also the Future Leaders of America, both of whom are here helping us with the programming with both our timing and our question sorting at the break. I also wanted to thank our other sponsors, the Fund for Santa Barbara, Santa Maria Times, and the NAACP. I did want to also welcome and thank all of our candidates because they are here kind of as servants to our community, and it's really fortunate that in our community we have so many people who are willing to serve our students. I'd also like to thank the live audience for attending. These forums are really important, I think, for making sure that voters are prepared and know what their choices are. Tonight's interpreter is Jose Farias, and our timers are Donna and Leslie. They'll be sitting up here in the front, and they will give you a countdown of 1 minute and then 30 seconds, 15, and let you know when you've run out of time. The rules for the format tonight, we'll start with the flag salute, and then that will be followed by a land acknowledgement. So if you wouldn't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our land acknowledgement, the League of Women Voters, North Santa Barbara County, humbly acknowledges that we are speaking to you within the traditional homelands of the Chumash tribe. We recognize and are grateful for the First Nations who set an example of how to live in harmony with the natural world. I will ask that the audience hold all applause until the end of the forum. Candidates are not to speak to or about each other, but will address their answers to the audience only. There will be no unauthorized videotaping, and tomorrow the YouTube of this forum will appear on our League YouTube channel, and there will also be a Facebook live stream. Is that correct? That's provided by the Future Leaders group. With that said, I'd like to just remind you that out in the foyer, there are some different resources that you can access. The League of Women Voters has a pros and cons and easy voter documents that kind of help voters with information. They don't necessarily take a stand on things, but they explain the two sides of all the different measures and ballot initiatives that are on our current ballots, which I think were, if you're a mail-in voter, they were mailed today. So you should be getting those really soon. The candidates will answer questions in an order determined by the card draw this evening. We put them actually in alphabetical order by their trustee area, 3, 4, and 5. We will kind of go through and change each, for each of the speakers, we will kind of rotate down the line so that everybody has a chance to be the first to answer a question. As far as our videotaping is kind of the way our league handles it, we do not allow any independent videotaping of our forums, and we also do not allow people to take clips out of the forum. So please honor those rules. If you do need to use the restroom, they're right out the doors and to the right. If you could make sure that you please turn off your electronic devices. We will go through our first 2 questions and then have a short break, followed by some audience questions as well. All right, so for each of the 2 initial questions, we're going to do 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Ms. Cordero. Actually, well, you guys are going to introduce yourselves, so I'll cut that down.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
I'm over here behind you. Could you maybe move or ask somebody to move a couple of those chairs so we can see the timers?
Sure. One more? Yeah, no problem. That will be easier. Yeah. Okay. All right, so for question number 1, Ms. Cordero, would you please introduce yourself to the audience, describe what education and experience you have that will aid you in being an effective school board member of the Santa Maria-Bonita School District, and talk a little bit about what motivated you to run for this position.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone who is here. My name is Linda Cordero. I have been in the Santa Maria community for a bit over 50 years. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Washington and a couple of master's degrees from Cal Poly. I was a teacher for the Santa Maria-Bonita School District and a teacher and an administrator for pretty close to 40 years. And it was, I taught a variety of grade levels. I do have a specialist credential for teaching reading and would agree with those that I've heard before from Santa Maria Joint that literacy is very much the key to success. My motivation really was unexpected. I have always been passionate about education, and at a period of time there was a bit of uncertainty about filling a vacancy on our school board, and out of concern for someone being there, or at least presenting an application so that it didn't just go to one person, I submitted an application and was selected, and since then have been reelected. So my motivation really is and always has been for the best interests of our students along with our staff. As a longtime educator working in the schools, and while I didn't teach at all of the schools, although when I started I was a substitute, so I was at quite a few of them, I have always believed that it is really important to let our students know that we care about them. And while I was known as being what kids called strict, they always knew what the expectations were, and my students thrived because of that. So I feel the same way about being on the school board. There are expectations, and it's about doing the right thing for the right reason.
Thank you. Mr. Rymel, if I'm saying that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Good evening, buenas noches, everyone. My name is James Rymel. Thank you to our organizers, to our volunteers, and to everyone who's taking the time to come out tonight. I understand this is important to you, just like it's important to us. As far as my background, I grew up in a very humble farming community. I started working when I was 12, and it was only through the support of educational programs like TRIO, AVID, Educational Talent Search, that I was even aware of the opportunities that existed in education. Those opportunities allowed me and many of my peers to visit colleges for the first time or understand what to do after college, even if that was a trade school, even if that was a career that wasn't necessarily in higher ed. But because of those programs, I really was able to take advantage of those opportunities. That brought me here to the Central Coast. As an undergraduate, I earned a degree in industrial technology and engineering at Cal Poly. I'm intimately familiar with the challenges that our students and families face as a first generation, navigating the educational system, navigating the application process, even understanding, has been brought up by our community tonight, how do you get through A through G? And that starts at the elementary school. Literacy by 3rd grade is one of the largest predictors about whether or not a student will go on to be successful. That personal experience and my passion for education, I think, qualify me to be a member of this board. What motivates me is I believe very strongly in paying it forward. I was able to take advantage of the opportunities that others created for me, and now I would like to make sure those same opportunities are being created for our students and that they're having the chance to take advantage of that. I wholeheartedly believe that being connected to the families and facing the challenges that our communities is dealing with together will be the difference. As a professional, I work as a consultant. So I work with government, higher education, for-profit, nonprofit entities where we are always trying to go in and solve a very challenging problem with very limited resources. As I'm sure every educator can confirm, they are always doing the same thing in their classrooms. So I think that professional experience and being able to collaborate with different organizations and teams to work towards a common goal and understand the resources we have available will aid me in helping the district and the schools achieve their goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson.
Thank you. My name is Hunter Jameson, and my wife and I were blessed after we retired to move from Los Angeles to the friendly and welcoming city of Santa Maria 8 years ago. I am a candidate for the elementary school board in Area 4, the southwestern part of the district. My thanks to the League of Women Voters and other sponsors for providing this forum and to our audience for attending. I was motivated to run for the school board when I learned last year of persistent student violence at El Camino Junior High School. I also was disheartened to learn how the district has hindered orderly learning by pushing into regular classrooms special education students who are not at home there. I will give my suggestions for fixing these problems as I answer the second question. My education includes Bachelor of Arts degrees in English from the University of Oregon and Oxford University, and a PhD in English from Indiana University. My education and work as college teacher, newspaper reporter and editor, and benefit plan writer showed me the necessity of clear communication. Good communication requires both a clear speaker and a willing listener. As I have canvassed my electoral area, some parents have told me of their frustration because they feel the district has not listened to their complaints. They feel their concerns were not understood, were ignored, were summarily dismissed, or were put on the back burner with the intent they would just go away. Such failures in communication are by no means universal, but I think the district can take a significant step to help parents who feel they are not being listened to. If I am elected, I will seek to explore appointing a parent advocate or ombudsman who would assist parents who have tried to work through channels but who believe their complaints or concerns have fallen on deaf ears. Teachers and classified personnel have union representatives. Parents do not. An ombudsman would help parents' voices be heard.
All right, thank you. Mr. Valencia.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes. My name is Ricardo Valencia, and I'm a proud local, and I teach at Santa Maria High School. Go Saints. I'm the current president of the Santa Maria-Bonita School Board, and I am running for re-election. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, Future Leaders of America, and their partners for hosting this event, and you, the community, for being here this evening. 14 years ago, when I applied to be a social science teacher at Santa Maria High, I was asked a very surprising question. Mr. Valencia, you went to UC Berkeley as an undergrad and Tufts University for your master's degree. Why do you want to teach working here? I was taken aback. I had the privilege of attending some of the most prestigious universities in the world. So why would I trade all that for a lower paying and respected career choice like education? Their question was disheartening. What is the point of having a world-class education if I cannot use it to uplift my community? That is why I became a teacher and why I'm running for school board, to continue to provide hope and inspiration to our youth. Our students have unlimited potential, but they need good resources and support to help them reach their goals. My journey is similar to many of the young people in our community. As a first-generation college student from a low-income background, I had to learn how to navigate unfamiliar institutions. This is something I had to figure out because my family did not have the resources to help me. However, my family did provide me one great advantage: ganas. There is no exact translation equivalent in English, but it roughly translates into the will to work hard. I am also motivated to give back to my community by my wife, who I actually met at Santa Maria High School, where we were sweethearts and now happily married over 13 years. Love you, chula. We both have worked as educators here in Santa Maria schools because we want others in our community to have the same opportunities that we had growing up. Having grown up in Santa Maria and being a teacher for over 16 years, I have firsthand knowledge of the challenges and opportunities that our students face. I have helped over 1,000 of our youth to pursue their dreams, some of whom now join me as teachers in our local schools. In addition to having a master's degree in teaching, I have an administrative credential in school leadership. As a result, I have learned how to develop thriving school systems that will center the needs of our students, parents, and school staff. I have served on the board for 4 years now, and I am proud to be a part of the shift in the culture of our district. We are improving relationships and building more trust. We are improving our hiring practices, and we are putting systems in place that eliminate barriers. With your vote, I will continue to work towards supporting our students, staff, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hollinshead.
And we got stuck in the cubicle over in the very far left here together, so we're sharing. Hi, my name is John Hollinshead. This is my 12th year on the school board. I started in 2012, basically because my children had all gone through the school district and attended the elementary schools and the high schools here in Santa Maria. I'm getting it a little bit backwards, but I'm going to start with that motivation. Our experiences at Miller School were outstanding. At Fessler were outstanding, and at Brigetti and Santa Maria Highs, very outstanding. I wanted to. There was a bit of discordance on the board at the time, and so I wanted to ensure that the other children that I knew in our neighborhood and in our community were able to have the same experiences and the same educational benefits that our children had. And so one of the things that I saw at the time was a need for addressing second language learners. And so at the time, my promotion that I had was for the DLI school. And I see people in the audience that we worked really hard to get him in as put together and made a reality. And so I'm very proud of that fact. My academic background is I received a Bachelor's of Arts in biology from Occidental College in Los Angeles. I have a Master's of Education from the University of Virginia. And I have a Bachelor's of Science in Physical Therapy from Cal State Long Beach. So I'm a physical therapist in town. As a parent, I'm a physical therapist first, last. I'm a parent first, but I'm also a coach and a classroom parent. So I volunteered and did 5th grade units on marine mammals for kids at Miller for about 7 or 8 years. I was on the school site council there for 8 years, and that experience also kind of catapulted me or helped me to move on to the school board and prepare for that. I'm very passionate about our mission statement around treating or nurturing the whole child in their education. And you heard, if you were here earlier, about the notions of mental health and well-being, as well as academics and all the other touchstone things that we need to do for our children to be flourishing and thriving in our school systems. So thank you to the League for having us this evening, and I appreciate all you guys are doing.
Thank you. Ms. Noratto-White?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Buenas noches, damas y caballeros. Mi nombre es Zoraida Noratto-White. As you can tell by my accent, I wasn't fortunate enough to be born in the United States. I was born and raised in Bogota, Colombia, and I am a marriage and family therapist. I also have some degrees, one degree in linguistics and languages from a university in Bogota, and another one with the equivalency in business administration from a college in London, England. My apologies, my phone is ringing. Okay, in the meantime I talk. Thank you. As a reason why, well, I told you about my education, but a reason why I decided to run for the school board, and actually I'm running for the Trustee Area number 5 of the Bonita School District. And in the context of doing therapy with many children, I have had the wonderful opportunity to work with lots of kids, and that has been kind of the highlight of my life as a therapist, but also with many families and couples. And I see with great concern through my work with kids some of the problems that our kids are facing. And since I work in the mental health field, and mental health is extremely important for me, I see with great concern the increase in anxiety and depression, many other disorders, but anxiety and depression disorders are tremendously prevalent in our kids today. And that should not be the case. But that's not the only problem that we have. In California, as you may know, only about 46% of our kids can read at grade level, and about 34.6, statistics may vary, but about 34.6 can do math at their grade level. That to me is not acceptable. And our kids in Santa Maria District are not doing that great either. So only about 24%, certainly less than 25% can read at grade level. And math, they're doing only about 16%. That, to me, is not acceptable. Our kids are the future of our community, and we need to do better for them. Thank you so much. My time is up.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to our second question. Mr. Rymel, we'll start with you. The second question, and you'll have 3 minutes to answer. What is the top challenge facing the Santa Maria Bonita schools, and what is your proposed solution?
Sure. Well, there's obviously many challenges for every district and every school, but I think what's unique to Santa Maria is the scaling of the school district and schools. We continue to grow at a tremendous rate. We have a need for additional schools and facilities, as well as resources for teachers. And so I don't think there's a magic arrow that's going to just solve the issue with one solution, but some of the approaches that I believe could help is creating more investment. It's been mentioned tonight, the bond that's open to try and push more funds out to the development of these infrastructures. I think that's something we should continue to do. Investment in our teachers and educators. It's already been mentioned tonight, wanting them to come to our community, wanting them to stay in our community. I came from a farming community, and I can tell you when our graduates finished, they did not come back. Santa Maria is very unique in that you see graduates that have gone off to major universities or are coming from major universities or other areas coming back to the community. Those are valuable resources that we can push back into education, that we can push back into the community. So I think we should invest in those infrastructures. I think that safety and support of our students, you've heard the challenges that the students are facing, below 25% in literacy, in math, coming from a STEM background. I know those are not easy areas to navigate. Compound that with the fact that many of our students are not primarily English speakers, or that they may not even be Spanish primary speakers as well. So there's a lot of language barrier that we can address to help support that. And then finally, just creating transparency in the efforts that the district is putting out there to support. I believe we can be more efficient, or we can be, I want to be careful because there's a lot of people doing great work in this community. I don't want to undermine any of the efforts that are out there. But I simply think maybe bringing a fresh perspective and some creative solutions that not only are happening within our county, but in other counties where they're seeing success, to try and adopt and try to pilot and try some creative things that I think this district has set a precedent for. We're number one in the county in terms of compensation for educators, and we can continue to push that. We can continue to pursue these solutions. So while I don't think there's any one solution that's going to help, I do think we have to be able to address scalability in our schools and our community to sustain the students we have now and the students we're going to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson.
I believe the top challenge facing our school district is security, assuring safe schools and well-ordered classrooms. Student violence at El Camino Junior High School last year grew so prevalent that it metastasized from students attacking each other to student-on-teacher threats and violence. This is evidence that current district security measures are not enough. I will work to return resource officers, that is, uniformed police officers or sheriff's deputies, to our schools. Resource officers were withdrawn from our schools after COVID struck, and the district has not invited them back. A resource officer could be based at each of the 4 junior high schools and visit elementary schools on occasion. A police car prominently parked outside a school and a uniformed armed officer inside can enhance security and possibly forestall violence. Another type of security that needs enhancing is assuring well-staffed and well-ordered classrooms. I believe we need more teacher aides consistently present, starting in first grade classrooms, and a larger pool of substitute teachers. Teachers and teacher aides have told me that the district's concentrated effort in recent years to push more students with disabilities who can become disruptive out of their specialized classrooms into general student classrooms has failed miserably. I have been told of students with autism, with or without a one-on-one behavioral aid, who have meltdowns in ordinary classrooms and start to throw books, chairs, or even computers. This is not only disruptive, but dangerous. The district's protocol is not to restrain such students, but to evacuate the other 29 students from the class to the outside until the autistic student calms down, cleans up the mess if possible, and then have all the other students return. This is simply not acceptable. Such special needs children belong in a different setting where they can thrive, a classroom geared to their needs. The 29 other students in the class and their teacher do not deserve to have their lessons disrupted. If elected, I will seek to revoke the district's practice of pushing special education students into general classrooms regardless of whether they are ready for them.
Thank you, Mr. Valencia.
It's important to recognize that there are many challenges facing our district. Having served on the board for 4 years, I have a good understanding of how to address these challenges. Some of these include, but are not limited to, the following. We are the largest school district in Santa Barbara County, and our staff don't always have the resources they need to support our students. One way we can address this is by investing in our schools, educators, and staff. We can provide all teachers and staff with the resources and support they need to foster student success. Finding ways to fund our schools, like Measure K, school bond, will be essential because it will allow us to update and build new schools. In some cases, some of our schools are over 60 years old. Schools designed for a few hundred sometimes have over 1,000 students. Students and staff have shared with us that they often dread having to use the restroom because of unsafe facilities. Our community deserves better. We need leadership that will continue to advocate for adequate resources. Another challenge we face as a large district is enhancing our connection with parents, staff, and community members. The solution for this will be building strong partnerships. Strengthening collaboration between parents, school staff, and the community will ensure every child receives a world-class education. One example would be community schools. Our schools would be able to provide services and support that fit every neighborhood's needs, created and run by people who know our children best. Additionally, another challenge in our district is academic achievement and opportunities for student growth. I strongly believe that any student who dreams of going to college should have that opportunity. My solution is to work with our district to expand enrichment opportunities. I want to broaden extracurricular and supplemental programs, emphasizing science, technology, engineering, the arts, mathematics, athletics, and college readiness initiatives. All these solutions are proven to increase students' chances of going to a university, and it helps us take a more holistic approach in children's positive development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hollinshead.
Sorry, I was still on. So I spoke earlier to the effect of the whole child, and what Mr. Valencia alluded to with the community schools is really kind of the pinnacle of that model. And so that's one of the things we're doing is we've applied for and received a grant to look into the establishment of community schools. And much of what we're doing already with counselors on our campuses, with wellness coaches for student well-being, and then also supporting our teachers with as much PLC and professional development as possible addresses that. But the community schools go to another level and really help to establish a number of touchstone points, so that the things that we've heard about tonight, where children either slip through the cracks or don't have their needs addressed, have an adult or somebody they know that cares about them that they can make contact with on a campus. So I wholeheartedly disagree with having SROs on our campus, armed SROs. There is zero indication and no evidence to suggest that they make a campus feel safer. As a matter of fact, it's usually otherwise, and our students will tell you that. So what I would propose is that if we continue our path forward in establishing systems to communicate better with our parents and have them trust us and come onto our campuses and feel a part of their campus like they would in a community school or like they would in their neighborhood school now, then a lot of those things are assisted. We get the benefit of having better relationships. Our students already indicate on most of their surveys for mental wellness that they don't feel connected somewhere. But when they come onto our school, most of them say that they feel like they have somebody they can go to. So we need to build on that. We need to make sure that there's an adult that they feel safe with, that there are other places that they can go on the campus that they know that they can flourish. So it's not really about the people, it's about the systems that you put in place for the people to succeed. So there's a saying that says that any bad system can defeat a good person. Well, I don't necessarily believe that, because we've got great teachers, we've got great staff. We need to put systems in place to allow them to continue to advance what we're already doing for our community and make contact and engage them and make them feel wanted. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Noratto-White?
Yes, thank you. Having spoken with a few teachers who are actually working with the kids, I heard some complaints about the teachers not being able to adequately educate the kids or transmit the teaching that they want to transmit, because they're too busy having to do other things, be in meetings that they don't deem are necessary, and doing other activities that are taking time away from the classroom with the kids. And I think the priority here needs to be the kids. Anything we do needs to be with the single objective of the children's benefit. And again, with the statistics that we have seen about the academic achievements in California and in Santa Maria being pretty poor, I think we need to focus more on teachers being in the classroom teaching English, other languages that the kids may learn, mathematics, science, history. That is the focus. That is what I believe needs to be the focus of teaching in the schools. And teachers are simply to support the parents, because let me tell you something, mental health begins in the home. When parents have a good parental, supervision and cohesive relationship with the kids, close relationship with the kids are going to thrive in the school, and teachers are simply going to support what parents are doing in the home, but obviously teach the children the disciplines that they need to learn to be the future leaders of the world, the future adults. That is really the job of parents, with the help of teachers and other educators, to prepare children to become competent, independent adults in the world, because they're going to be our future leaders, our future presidents, our future governors, other leaders, and we need to be able to prepare them better. Another quick thing that concerns me greatly is to see, may not be necessarily in the schools of Santa Maria, but there's violence in our schools. I've seen the videos, and that is traumatizing. So thank you very much. I have much more to say, but my time is up.
Thank you. Ms. Cordero?
Thank you. Everything that the panelists have mentioned are definitely areas that need to be addressed within our school system. Santa Maria has, as mentioned, is the largest school district in Santa Barbara County, and we have grown incredibly quickly. Our schools, as Mr. Hollins had mentioned, that were built for 500 or 600 students are well past that. So our school bond measure that is on our ballots now is critical to helping us to address some of the classroom issues that we have. We have a brand new grade level that nobody really talks too much about, but students that are 4 can begin school now, and they need to be in a full day classroom. That requirement is not in place for kindergarten. But how could we offer full day transitional kinder and not full day kindergarten? Academic progress will most likely continue to be a challenge. Our classrooms are, in my opinion, are overcrowded. Our staff does receive a lot of training, but we always need more. One of the things that occurs in education is that a great idea comes along and we implement it and we keep it there for 2 or 3 years because the funding is there, and then all of a sudden, all the money goes away. So in addition to housing our students, the academic performance, budget is always a huge issue, which we really do not have control over. So until our state or the federal government decides that education is a priority and sets the parameters so that we know what our budget is, we are often limited. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So at this time, we're going to take about a 10-minute break and then collect our questions. So if anybody needs 3x5 cards, we have them out in the foyer, but I think some of our league members also have them. We'll have the future leaders will be picking those up. All right, we're going to get started again. I do apologize. In the interest of time, we're only going to be able to get to about 4 questions tonight, just so that we have enough time for all of our candidates to answer. Okay, I think I'm starting with Mr. Jameson. It's your turn to, as we go down the line, to be the first one to talk. We have quite a few questions about staff and parent communication and mutual respect. And so I'd like you to speak to how would you encourage your teachers and staff to make a welcoming environment at the schools?
I think that is very important, of course. I think there is the back to school night where there's an opportunity for parents to touch base with the teachers. And, well, perhaps there's an opportunity for teachers who may be playground supervisors, I guess, to escort students outside the gates toward the students' cars if they're being picked up. But I think that the opportunities are there. I think that when teachers are willing to respond to parents' inquiries or parents' sometimes complaints, that's what's very important. When parents are willing to take the initiative themselves, then teachers and staff need to be responsive to what they say. In my canvassing of the district, I always ask the potential voters, or actually the residents, what they think about the schools, and most of the time they don't really have a lot to say. They seem to be satisfied. I've spotlighted in my earlier comments a number who absolutely were not. And I think those perhaps are the ones that need to be especially have a sense of welcoming and being invited into the schools. As I understand, the schools do have a policy where they will invite the parents. They do generally ask to have an appointment, but I think that's important. I think the attitude of the administrative assistants at the main desk is also a key to how welcoming parents will feel at the school.
Thank you. Mr. Valencia?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. How would you help ensure that staff is welcoming to parents and families in the school context?
I think continuing to invest in the professional learning of our staff is essential. I've never met an educator or a staff person that intentionally wants our families to not feel welcome. However, I have received, complaints in the past from our families who feel like sometimes they're being treated disrespectfully. Sometimes they feel like they're being discriminated against because of the language they speak, whether it's indigenous language or Spanish. And so one of the most important people when our communities enter the door is that front person, that desk person. How welcoming are they? Can they greet our families in a language that they understand? Are they patient with our families, right? Most of us are first generation. We're trying to figure out the system. Our institutions, as I mentioned earlier, have over 1,000 students sometimes. So having somebody who understands the culture of our families, who understands some of the needs of our families is essential. And so we are investing in the professional learning of our staff to be more culturally proficient. And we're also being intentional with our hiring. Are they local people? Are they people who understand the needs of our families? And so I think that that's going to be a really critical piece is how can we expect our families to be involved in their children's education if we sometimes make them feel unwanted or disconnected from our schools? But I'm confident that our staff have what it takes because as long as we're willing to learn, as we expect our students to learn, then I think we are going to continue to make growth in that area.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hollinshead?
Yeah, and I would concur with Mr. Valencia. I think it's really about having an asset-minded philosophy and looking at our parents as being our advocates and our partners. And so there's certainly we don't want to have any barriers, but barriers and biases exist whether we know they're there or not most oftentimes. So we want to have some kind of training to the effect of having some cultural responsiveness and understanding of the people that we're engaged with, and that may be with the front office staff, but the other people that really need it or can benefit from it and get better and better at it is our other staff that are certificated and classified, the teachers and the other folks who are working on our campuses. Like I said before, a lot of times we depend on that touchstone person to be who advocates for a child and then makes connections. That might be somebody who's on the custodial staff or somebody who's in the front office. We want to try and broaden that net So we want to have people learn and become culturally responsive in their interactions with our folks, but also we want to engage our families more frequently. Not have them have to come to the district office, but have more on-site engagement beyond a back-to-school night. Things where they know they're welcome, and it's really about them and about their kids. And so I think those kinds of things, cafecitos were on a lot of the high schools before, and so those kinds of things where you're acknowledging them and advocating and letting them know that you value them and their input, those are the things we need to do. We're already starting to do it with our LCAP meetings. We're moving them out to the sites rather than having it a district orientation, and we'll continue to do that kind of spreading of it out.
Thank you. Ms. Noratto-White?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think that when we care for people and we care for the children, they have to be our priority. When we care for people and we see them as we are, flesh and blood, we may be of different colors or races, ethnicities, but they are just people like us. And we put on a spirit of humility on us about that, because we all are equal human beings. And when we care for people, it's going to come out naturally that we welcome people, that we respect people. And I am aware that the majority of children in the schools here are from the farming communities around, so many parents do not speak the language. Of course, one of the things that we want to make sure is that we have staff that are ready to engage with the parent in the language as much as they can, and be welcoming of them. That would require some, I suppose, some regular training, perhaps once a month at least, of the staff to, again, to convey to them that we need to be putting on a spirit of humility, looking at people just as we would like others to look at us, and be respectful and be gracious with everybody. And especially because there are the kids. The kids are the asset in the school. And when you look at those beautiful little faces, and you need to care. You are going to care because the children are precious and they are the future of our community and of our nation.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cordero?
Thank you. One of the things that has occurred in the last, it was adopted last year, was a strategic plan. And within that strategic plan, we have developed a new vision and mission, and it also includes our beliefs. And the very first belief in that list is we believe each person has inherent value and deserves respect. My observations, my experiences, having been in the district and at multiple schools, is that the majority of our staff, particularly in our office staff, but also any of our itinerant staff and teachers and aides as well, really do try to be as welcoming as possible with any of our parents or families. Of course, one of the things that we now, force anyone who comes to our school site to enter through the office because of safety. So that office staff does set the tone, and continued staff development toward increasing that is very important, and I do believe that will be an ongoing process.
Thank you. Mr. Rymel?
Yeah. As was mentioned by Ms. Cordero, I think every educator has a passion for family and for students. No one comes into that career and that industry without having a genuine care. And I think if we can open the channels of communication, especially in the languages of our community, that can make a big difference. If you've ever traveled anywhere, you've ever gone outside, you can have the best intentions, and sometimes that can be lost in a language barrier. That can be lost in body language or customs. And so while the district's doing great efforts to educate their staff, I think we can just open up those channels of communication, and oftentimes those are electronic. Teachers are reaching out electronically, and not everyone in our community necessarily has those direct resources available. So I think just having those additional channels in the appropriate language and a designated contact at the school to know if you need to speak this language or that language, here's who you can ask for, here's who you can come to, and really not only in words let our families and community know that we care for them and they're welcomed, but actually putting up the resource there for them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next question, we'll start with Mr. Valencia. What is your approach to helping disadvantaged students, such as students with disabilities, Spanish-speaking students, and including our Mixteco population, so that they don't fall through the cracks, but get the support they need to close academic gaps?
I think this question is critical to the success of our young people. Addressing education from a culturally proficient lens, from a lens of equity, is what's going to allow our young people to thrive. As was alluded to earlier, all of us have biases, often unconscious. And so raising our awareness of those potential biases will help us better serve our community. Unless you are a person that's from that culture, it is really, really difficult to truly understand that culture. And so having our staff engage in professional learning, we've created partnerships with various organizations that are not only working with our families, but also with our students. Having opportunities to engage with our community. One of the things that I appreciate that we did over the last 3 years is we're connecting more with organizations like MyCop, which focuses on the needs of our Indigenous families. We provided a more open space where we provide interpretation for our families so that they're engaged in our school board meetings. And we've created committees also where families have more opportunities to engage in the learning process. So I think we are blessed and lucky to have the opportunity to have the Indigenous families that we do. And as was alluded to earlier, seeing them as assets as opposed to deficits will be critical in our ability to serve them. These are folks that are trilingual, often bilingual, and we need to change the ways of the past where we saw that as a deficit. Or on the contrary, these are folks that are going to be the most competitive on the global stage.
Thank you. Mr. Hollinshead.
So yeah, I do agree with Mr. Valencia as far as the holistic approach as far as treating our students and their families who come from different backgrounds and different languages, kind of through that culturally proficient lens. But at the same time, much of what we've done to date has been reactive. In other words, we respond to deficits after the fact. And I think what we're trying to do right now, or what we should be doing more of, is having people in places where they best serve our students and our families and can connect with them and help us to shorten or negate that gap. And part of that is with our teacher pipeline that we've engaged in, and that's part of what we've talked about earlier, and having teachers who can make a connection with a student either through their language or through their culture, or having come from a similar background. So we know that that teachers of color, regardless of what their ethnicity is, can identify with their students if they've come from a socioeconomically disadvantaged background. There are commonalities there. So there are things that we want to try to do and continuing to promote, getting teachers through our pipeline and elsewhere where we can recruit folks who our kids identify with and who can be responsive to their learning needs and make those connections academically rather ahead of time and through the systems they have in place rather than as a reaction.
Thank you. Ms. Noratto-White.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I have observed throughout the years in working with children and families is that many parents are not involved in their education of their kids and deeply involved in every aspect of their lives, unfortunately. And oftentimes that happens because the parent doesn't speak the language, English. I would love to see a program from the district that would offer some English to parents who don't speak the language, and maybe some, this is what I'm envisioning, some activity, let's say once a month, where the teachers gather together with the parents and the kids. It doesn't have to be in the school, but maybe in a nice park, and in that setting, which is it's less formal, maybe it would be easier for parents to approach the teachers in a way that doesn't feel so intimidated. Oftentimes, parents who don't speak the language look at the therapist that the teacher, like here, the parent is here and the teacher is there. And no, I would like to see that the parents would feel that they can approach the teacher and talk to them and ask questions. If they don't speak the language, you have the interpretation services here, or something like this. And definitely, I'm big on having parental involvement in every aspect of our kids, because one of the things that I want to advocate for is parental involvement and parents' rights. Parents' rights are under attack by our government today, and that's a no-no with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cordero? Sure. Where's my question? What is your approach to helping disadvantaged students, including students with disabilities, Spanish-speaking, and also a Mixteco population, to make sure they don't fall through the cracks, but get the support they need to close academic gaps?
Thank you. I think we strayed a little bit from that and I lost my thoughts. So I think meeting the challenges of our students, from 40 years ago to now has always been challenging. We often expect our students all to perform at one level. I think we have to consider that intention is always there with teachers. As has been mentioned, we have wonderful teachers. We have people that care about our community. We're developing our own teacher preparation program. We struggle with the translation and interpretation process, especially with the Mixtecan population, the Oaxacan, because we can find very few people that can speak English and Mixtecan, and often including Spanish. So that is something that we struggle with greatly to engage with our families. In the last several years, our family engagement program has made tremendous strides in reaching out to the community, tremendous. And many resources have been made available. And I think our trajectory toward building community schools will also address a lot of that issue. We always want to help every single student. We may not always have what it takes, but that is what we always intend to do.
Thank you. Mr. Rymel?
I'll preface this response with I reserve the right to get smarter. So while I may have an understanding from the outside, I think as I learn more and I get more information from educators of what they really face day to day, it could change. What I will say is I also know Santa Maria is unique in that you have had graduates from your high schools go off to universities in California and for the first time are transcribing the Mixteco language, are putting it in writing. There are resources coming from your communities, our communities, that we can bring back to help support these services. When you're looking at a student in class that has a different capability and a different need, I don't know if they are measured against the same results. There are individual development plans and individual educational plans for students. Perhaps that fits here and we can adjust for that. The truth is I don't know the day-to-day challenges that the educators are facing with these students. But where I would start is saying, what do they need and how are they measuring success for these students? And what can we put into those classrooms and into those teachers' hands to help them achieve that? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson?
One of the groups that was mentioned in the question was students who have disabilities. I have mentioned that before. I would like to return to that students will be tested. They will be grouped in areas where they are felt to be needed. If there is some question about them, or if parents have questions, and if they're borderline, they may be receiving an individual education plan, an IEP. But there has been, as I mentioned, a sustained effort to push disabled students with disabilities into mainstream classrooms when similar students in past years would have been given their own classroom, a space where they would feel comfortable, a place where their particular needs could be addressed. And that needs to be, we need to return to that. We cannot sacrifice our children on the basis of some ideology. They need to be treated where they individually will be comfortable, and also where they will not pose a threat of disruption or even possibly physical injuries to other children because they are just out of place. We need to respect those differences of children with disabilities. They don't have to be all the time in their special classroom, as they are able to spend part of the day in regular classrooms. That's fine. If they're able to have lunch with the other students, that's fine. But the question is making them comfortable, putting them into a position and a classroom where they can learn, where the other children around them are also of their type of child where they would be comfortable.
Thank you. All right, how are we doing on time here? Okay, I think we have time for one more question. So I think it comes down to teachers or lunches, the other two piles where what the kids want you to make the lunches better. So I'm just gonna put that out there.
Fully agree.
Heard. We do eat what the kids eat at our
Okay.
board meetings.
Okay, that was just the kids wanted to throw that out there, but we have time for each of you to answer 2 minutes on how would you approach building a better relationship between the district and local teachers, and how would you specifically support teachers?
Well, I think my kind of biggest vision of what's part of what the takeaway with this is, and my daughter's, I need to preface this by saying my daughter's a classroom teacher in the district, and my other daughter was briefly. But I think a lot of it is a staffing issue. And I say that because until the bond is passed, and even after that, if we build a new school and add classrooms, we're going to be very, very overcrowded. And so the school that my children attended, that was originally intended to have just over 500 kids and had 630 when they were there, now has about 1,000. And so when you have classroom teachers trying to manage 30 children at a time, it's very difficult. As you've heard many times tonight, there are very diverse needs for the children in that classroom. And so we really need to support our teachers. Yes, we need to support them with the housing that was talked about for the high school district. That's being done in Lompoc and Santa Barbara. Yes, we need to continue to have attractive salaries, but it's really about working conditions. Teachers stay here because they love our kids and they love our families. But if the working conditions aren't better, if they don't have the support from us, and we're trying, it's really hard to recruit enough people, and we need to get more people in the classroom. If you can't make more classrooms, you need to have more adults in the classrooms with the kids so that they can get the things that they need. And so for me, we can do all the PLCs we want to do, but what it's about is putting systems in place. I know I've said that a lot, but building systems for our teachers to succeed, but also supporting them with personnel, with people in the classroom, so that they feel like they can do their job to the best of their ability and address it with all their kids.
Thank you. Ms. Noratto-White?
Yes, if classrooms are overcrowded, the most logical thing I can think of is that teachers need help to make the classrooms smaller, and we need to provide for the teachers that kind of assistance, whether it be new teachers that are new hires, or parents who can step into the arena and help out in the classrooms. Any person in the community, really. It doesn't have to be a parent who has children in the classroom. I don't have children in the classroom. I don't have, but I want to step, to step up to help the community. And I think basically every person in the community could help, could contribute. And another thing is that I think you mentioned something in your question about how would you bridge, I guess, the gap between the staff and the teachers and then the parents. And again, it's going to be the most logical solution to bring more personnel that is needed in every area. But area number one for me would be more teachers in the classrooms, and making sure that the kids who are maybe advanced in their learning can continue in that process unhindered by children who are not so advanced in their learning process. So those are the things that occur to me. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Cordero?
Supporting teachers and making their experiences better is an ongoing goal and process. Too many students, not enough teachers or support staff in classrooms is a long been an issue, not just in Santa Maria, but in many other places as well. Class size definitely helped when we had it, but I think now, in addition to making the efforts to hire support staff for our teachers, I think upgrading our oldest facilities, modernizing. I would love to see science labs at every one of our sites, including elementary, so that our students could have hands-on experiences. I think the additional school that we desperately need, once again, because of our growing population, can be a model for that. But part of our vision for the future is to have classroom spaces that will meet the needs of our students and be better for our teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Rymel?
I think by going to the source and listening to teachers to know what it is they're facing, what challenges they need support with. Additionally, I think the question was specifically, how would you be available? Email, survey, phone call, come knock on my door. I think I've been direct with teachers that I'm available not just for them, but in the entire community. This is, to my knowledge, I think the first year that our district is voting. So now there's this idea we have a responsibility to our neighbors and to our neighborhoods. And I want to make sure that I'm available to teachers to provide the feedback, to be a voice for them, to be an advocate for them, as well as anyone in the community. So I believe that answers the question.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson?
One of the teachers said that before COVID, there would typically be monthly meetings in which a central district official would invite a representative from each school once a month to hold a meeting. That could be perhaps the central offices as math specialists, for example. And that this was a way that teachers felt that they were connected to the district. Those meetings are no longer held. I also would just like to mention that there's been the matter of teacher aides discussed. I touched on it myself, but teacher aides are only consistently present for TK and kindergarten classes because the law requires that there must be one adult, including a teacher or an aide for every 10 students. But if there's an absence in the, if someone's sick, if someone can't come in and an aide to fill that spot, then they're pulled from first grade, second grade, other grades, and that happens frequently. That means that teachers in the first grade and above cannot count on consistent presence of teacher aides to help them. So that indicates there absolutely needs to be additional teacher aides that are present. So that is what I would say about the necessity to hire teacher aides. Also, there's a concern that the substitute teacher pool needs to be enlarged as well, because there are not sufficient substitutes to easily cover all the vacancies that occur.
Thank you. Mr. Valencia?
In order to support teachers, we have to start at the top. And I was part of the process to hire the new superintendent in the Bonita School District. It was historic. It was the first time we hired an African-American superintendent. And he comes with a really solid vision. And before we hired him, we were very intentional about somebody that was going to be able to restore trust. We heard from a lot of our teachers that trust was missing, that respect was missing. And so far, I've been really proud to see that relationship, while we're not quite fully there yet, we have seen much improvement. An example of this is that for the first time in approximately 10 years, we have avoided impasse when it comes to teacher contract negotiations. So to me, that is a sign of the better direction that we are moving in. I also think that the way we support teachers is by investing in teachers and investing in our students. So supporting Measure K is going to be essential in doing that, because it will help to alleviate some of the impact in our classrooms, the large classroom sizes. It will minimize some of the congestion that we're experiencing throughout our schools. And so it's one of the few ways that we get matching funds from the state. In other words, we can't use taxpayer dollars just to automatically build the school. That's why we have to do a bond measure first, and then the state will then contribute once we've shown that investment. How do we support teachers? By investing in staff that support them. We used to have mostly part-time bilingual aides. Now we have mostly full-time bilingual aides. How do we support teachers? By also investing in the education of our parents. So we have something called the Parent Engagement Academy that is going to teach people that are new in our country how to navigate our school system to better serve their kids. So how do we support teachers? By building systems in place that help our teachers thrive.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I think we are going to be wrapping it up, and it works out good. I'm starting to melt a little bit over here. So we'll start with a final 2-minute wrap up with you. With you, Ms. Noratto-White. So you can talk about anything that we've talked about tonight, or just kind of wrap up with your final ideas and vision.
Yes, I would like to say that as a naturalized citizen of the United States, I am so very grateful to the country that opened her doors to me and has given me the opportunities that my own country could not give me. And so I want to give back to the country, and that's one of the reasons why I am running. And yes, my objective here is to work for the benefit of our kids. I don't live for myself. Those days are long past, when I was seeking my own thing. But I live for a higher calling. And that higher calling includes working on behalf of the most precious assets our country has and our communities, and those are our little kids, our little children. I believe that as adults we have a great responsibility to help and protect our kids. Our kids need us. Our future leaders, our future adults need good role models, and also people who would invest in their development. And kids' minds are very important for me, meaning their mental health. I want to see the depression and the anxiety eradicated from our children. And for that reason, I believe that we must protect their minds as well as their bodies. So I want to invite you, the audience, I humbly ask for your vote, and that you would help me to help our kids to thrive and protect them in body and mind.
Thank you. Mrs. Cordero?
I think what I want to really emphasize in my final statement is that my dedication is really focused on helping every student succeed. Success does not look the same for every person. Just as you all know in the audience, we talk about academics, and we focus a lot of our attention on that. But there are many other ways that students can be successful. There are many paths that they can take. So a bigger part of our responsibility is to help our students understand and realize what they are passionate about, what they have convictions about, and how they want to pursue their life and set goals for themselves. If going to college is the answer, great. If going to a trade school is the answer, that's perfectly all right too. But we need to give them confidence, or build their confidence, so that they can make those decisions with their eyes wide open and knowing what they're working toward. So we need to listen to them and not evaluate everyone in the same exact way, so that our students really can find out who they are and what goals they have for themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Rymel?
I'd like to close with, I fully understand the transformative power of education. It's personally changed my life, my family's life, and the trajectory of my new daughter. I also believe that those of us who have climbed the mountain have a responsibility to go back down and show others the path. My dedication to this role in this community is inspired by that. I have experienced and seen things that many students may not have, and I want to contribute that here. For over a decade, I've worked with some of the largest and most successful organizations in the world trying to solve difficult problems. I think I can bring that unique perspective here to our community and our board to address the very unique problems and situations that our community has. We are extremely unique in a lot of ways in terms of the cultures that aggregate here, the mix of technology advancement and the history of agriculture, our location within the state being right between San Jose and Los Angeles. There's so much that's unique about Santa Maria and our community, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to create a difference for our children now and for future generations. And that's what I'm most passionate about, and I hope that's what you remember when you go to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson?
Thank you. Thanks to the audience for attending this evening. I appreciate that. I would like to work for changes in the Santa Maria-Bonita School District. We owe our next generation safe schools with orderly classrooms where learning can flourish. If elected, I will support returning resource officers to our schools to enhance safety and provide a sense of security for our children. Teachers and students deserve as few distractions in the classroom as possible. We need to hire more teachers' aides, especially for the first grade up. The district's practice of pushing as many special education students into general classrooms, whether they are ready or not, is a failure. I will work to revoke it. Finally, parents are their children's most important educators. Their efforts to intercede for their pupils need to be treated with respect. If they feel their good faith attempts at seeking a resolution have fallen on deaf ears, they deserve assistance. I will work to appoint an ombudsman who can help such parents navigate district procedures and find solutions if at all possible. I will seek to fulfill my campaign goal of assuring full, clear communication between schools and parents. In summary, I believe our schools should teach the basics of reading, writing, mathematics, and science to help students discover and develop their God-given abilities and talents, and to help them become part of our civil and civilized society by teaching them accurate American history and civics and fostering respect for our country. I ask for your vote in Area 4.
Thank you. Mr. Valencia?
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Future Leaders of America, and their partners for hosting tonight's forum. As an incumbent on the Santa Maria-Bonita board, I have successfully advanced the following good causes. And with your vote, I will continue to 1, invest in schools, educators, and staff. 2, build strong partnerships. 3, expand enrichment opportunities. I am proud to have the endorsement of SMEA, the Bonita Teachers Union, and community organizations like Cause Action, the Santa Maria Valley Women's Political Action Committee, and community leaders like Judge Flores, Councilwoman Gloria Soto, and indigenous parent leaders like Francisco Lozano. Something I am proud of is that I often receive feedback from teachers appreciating my strong voice and unique perspective on the board as a fellow teacher. I often hear that I ask good questions, and they know that I am willing to hold our institution accountable. Our families tell me that they appreciate how accessible I am, given my visibility in the community, and my ability to speak their language, whether in English or Spanish. I have the privilege of being raised by the Santa Maria community. I attended El Camino Junior High and Santa Maria High. I am now a teacher and school board member because I want the youth of our community to know that they are worthy and deserving of all the wonderful opportunities that our community has to offer. My dream when I was in high school was to return to Santa Maria as a teacher. I am now living that dream by helping our youth achieve their goals. As a local with over 16 years of teaching experience, I am empathetic to the needs of our students, parents, and staff, and I believe in their unlimited potential. Now my dream is to give every child in our district the opportunity to reach their goals and uplift their community. Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. Mr. Hollinshead.
So this evening I've spoken several times about an asset-minded outlook, and that really is, I think, the reason that I initially sought office. We, at the time, were trying to promote a dual language model in our schools because we wanted to engage the community and see language and their culture as an asset. As I look back on that, I feel like I'm really proud of that, and we're continuing to expand that from just one strand to a full school, and as we do that, we'll continue to expand that to other campuses. You heard Mrs. Cordero refer to our mission statement and the addressing our students' potential and their passions. And so I would agree with her that academically, we do as many things as we can in the classroom to prepare them to be college or career ready, and I would say community ready as well. But that's not going to happen until we find out what their passion is, until we allow them to find their own path. And so, as Mr. Valencia said, we want to continue to provide more electives, different paths of study, but we also want to uphold our commitment to them to make them ready for college and beyond if they choose to do so. And we want to engage them as learners and help their parents to engage them as well, and do our best to support those parents and then support the teachers to bring out that potential. I want to thank the League, of course, and I want to thank our friends from the Future Leaders and their amazing sign skills for timing. And certainly everybody for braving the heat. We thought it was going to be outdoors all day today, but it's actually here.
All right, thank you all to all of the candidates, and I'd like to just give them a little round of applause for their willingness to serve. And that will be the end of our forum for tonight. Thank you all very much for coming.
Well, thank you. Well, nice to meet you, and congratulations.